brother! Ben, when I was a kid, one of my favorite things to do after watching a Pixar movie was to go online and look up all of the little Easter eggs they managed to sneak in there. And I always thought, man, whose job is it to like go frame by frame and find these things? You really can be anything you want when you grow up. And with Cars 3 coming out next week, it is time to break out the old pause button again and start finding Easter eggs. These are the top 10 things to look for in Cars 3. Numbers 10, 9, and 8 are sort of the low-hanging fruit. The Pizza Planet truck, A113, and the Luxo ball. The Pizza Planet truck first appeared in Toy Story and has appeared in every single Pixar movie since, except The Incredibles. And let me stop you right there. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. That is just the yellow truck. If you missed it in Finding Dory, it was pretty well hidden and obscure in the underwater junkyard. In Cars 3, though, I don't think it's going to be that obscure because, well, it's a car. In Cars 1, he's parked right outside of the Piston Cup Speedway, and in Cars 2, he is lined up outside of the Radiator Springs Grand Prix. Also, his name is Todd. Todd appears to be a fan of watching the races no matter where they are, so I'm betting he shows up as an audience member at the Demolition Derby in Cars 3. A113 is also in every Pixar movie except Monsters, Inc. No, it's not. And this one has become harder and harder to spot, although sometimes it can be pretty obvious. In Finding Dory, it showed up twice. Once very obviously on the license plate of the big truck at the end, but less obviously are the combined tags of Fluke and Rudder's tails. The Luxo ball, despite being like the Pixar Easter egg, has weirdly not appeared in every single Pixar movie. But it did make an appearance in Finding Dory on the steering wheel of the big truck, where I have to say, it also kind of looked like the Captain America shield. Of the films it has not appeared in though, Cars is one of them, and it only appears in the end credits of Cars 2. So it is possible that it might not be in Cars 3, but I'd still keep an eye out for it. By the way, if you're wondering where you can get one of these, you can only get them from the gift shop at Pixar in Emeryville, California, which limits their availability. But that's okay, you can just buy one of our awesome play balls at dftba.com instead. Number 7, BNL. BNL, also known as By and Large, is the company that basically takes over the Earth in WALL-E and forces the humans into space. And it has been known to pop up all over the Pixar universe, often as an energy company or otherwise big business. For example, they produce the batteries in Buzz Lightyear in Toy Story 3, and are the construction crew responsible for destroying everything around Carl's house in Up. But why BNL is important in Cars 3 is that it will likely be how it fits into the Pixar theory. Thus far, the company has actually not appeared in a Cars movie, but in Cars 2, the villain, Miles Axelrod, is running a fake energy company called All in All. By and Large and All in All are both, of course, just word plays for by and large and all in all, both of which happen to mean the exact same thing, which is everything considered, which is indeed exactly the amount of things you'd expect a giant corporation run by machines to have considered. And by the way, I'm not even guessing on this one. B&L has already shown up in the trailers, and just conveniently right after All in All goes away in Cars 2. How about that? But the real question is, where else are they going to show up? Number 6, the slow blinking traffic light. This is one of those blink and you'll miss it sort of things, and I mean literally blink because it's a blinking traffic light in Radiator Springs. So the backstory here is that in Cars 1, a dazed or possibly high Fillmore suggests that every third blink of the light is slower. It's supposed to make you think that he's maybe a bit of a stoner and that the town is so boring there is literally nothing better to do than watch the traffic light blink. But here's the thing. He's not wrong. The third blink is slower by like half a second. There wasn't a lot of Radiator Springs in Cars 2, but they will be returning in Cars 3, so just be on the lookout for this fun and tiny Easter egg to see if they include it again, if you can even notice it. Number 5, something from Coco. This is such a brilliant move by Pixar to have an Easter egg for upcoming films in their existing movie, because it's like you don't even know what it was until you've seen the next one, and then you gotta go back and watch this one and see what it was. Although when they're doing sequels, it can be a little bit easier. For example, in Finding Dory, you knew Cars 3 was the next one, and the truck driver is wearing a lightning band-aid. Pixar's next film is Coco, a movie about Dia de los Muertos, and I don't know exactly how they're going to fit it into Cars, but the holiday has a lot of skull imagery, so I'm just saying be on the lookout for a skull or a calaveras. Number 4, mud. This is less of an Easter egg and more just something to appreciate. Every single Pixar movie seems to have its signature hardest thing to animate. In Finding Dory, it was Hank the Septopus. In Coco, it's this awesome finger picking on the guitar. In The Good Dinosaur, I think it was everything, every single thing. Have you seen the water, the clouds, the leaves? Do you remember the leaves? Oh, I do. In Cars 3, it's the mud. Mud, it turns out, is really tricky to animate because different parts of it are different amounts of wet and crusty and dry, and it doesn't really act as a whole, and it kicks up dust, and there's dirt, and it's just, I mean, it's hard to describe, but I think even just this shot right here, you get a good sense of how difficult it might be to animate. Number 3, Jocko Flaco. Sorry, what? Jocko Flaco. Jocko Flaco, also known as the fastest monkey in the world. Now, you may remember a couple of weeks ago our video about Doc Hudson, where we talked about how he is actually based on a real-life NASCAR driver named Herb Thomas, who won the NASCAR championship in 1951 and 53. But what about 52? Well, 1952 was won by another Hudson Hornet driver by the name of Tim Flock. Tim Flock won a lot of races in his NASCAR career, but is also known for being the only driver to ever have a co-driver. That co-driver being a monkey named Jocko Flaco. The strategy behind it was literally that if a car was passing him, he thought it would freak them out to look over and see a monkey. And I don't know, he must have known something we did, and it worked. He won a lot. But the point is, this movie is going to be full of NASCAR history, and specifically Hudson Hornet history, and there's just no way they did as much research as they did on Hudson Hornets and didn't come across this and didn't include it. So I don't know how they're gonna put a monkey in Cars 3, but just be on the lookout for maybe on like a billboard or on the side of a truck. Jocko Flaco will be in this movie. Number 2, Moonshine. Moonshine, if you don't know, is just home-brewed, non-governed, or authorized illegal alcohol, normally made with corn mash. It is named such because people would distill and try and transport their illegal alcohol under cover of night using only the moon as light. This often involved building and driving cars fast enough to outrun the police, which is actually where a lot of NASCAR drivers got their start. Two such drivers were Junior Johnson and Wendell Scott, both of whom will be represented in Cars 3 as Midnight Moon and River Scott. Yeah, notice the name Midnight Moon. That right there is already an allusion to this practice. Actually, fun story, another name for Moonshine is White Lightning. But I'm betting his name won't be the only reference to this old practice. I'm not sure if he'll have like the signature XXX bottles or just like a distillery in the background, but be on the lookout. I'm sure something else is going to be in there, especially when you meet the legends. And before we do number 1, I just want to give an honorable mention to John Ratzenberg, who would typically be on this list as a voice in every single Pixar movie, but as this is the 3rd movie in the trilogy and he's already an established character, it's not really very hidden. He's Mac. And number 1, Paul Newman's voice. So whatever canon reason they came up with for why Doc Hudson is no longer around in Cars, the real reason is because his voice actor, Paul Newman, died in real life. But so oddly, one of the things I'm really looking forward to in this movie is new dialogue from Paul Newman. Yeah, you heard me. So what's happening here is that they are taking some of his recordings from Cars 1 that they didn't use in the movie and reappropriating them for Cars 3, thus giving us new dialogue some, 10+ years later? Star Wars actually did something similar to this with Alec Guinness, re-editing some of his old dialogue just to get the name Rey into The Force Awakens. And personally, I love it when studios do stuff like this, especially when it's like so obviously out of respect for the character and the plot of the story, and not just some money grab or marketing scheme. And there you go, Ben. Those are my top 10 things to look for in Cars 3. My question for you and everybody else is, how many times did Dory move during this video? Leave your guesses in the towel section down below. These socks are amazing! Guys, thanks for watching. As always, please remember to like this video if you haven't already and subscribe so you don't miss any future Cars videos from us. If you want to find out the truth about Doc Hudson, you can check out this video right here, or if you want to see who we think the true villain of Cars 3 will be, you can check out this video right here. But Ben, that's all I've got for you today, man. I will see you in another life.